we make fun of you for having side jobs. You took a big side job 10 days ago, came out as news to us on Monday morning. I called you Monday afternoon, like, hey, how you doing? I was like, well, I've been answering texts and phone calls all day. He goes, oh, yeah, why is that? I said, because when Adam Schefter tweets your name out, it typically becomes a story. And Adam Schefter tweeted that you were helping the Washington Commanders and new owner Josh Harris on the search committee to find a GM and a head coach. So why don't you give us an update of what you've been doing the last 10 days as much as you can?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm in an undisclosed hotel location that I cannot reveal where I'm doing this show from today. But the one thing that I do absolutely want to make clear is that any of the evaluations that I have done were previous to this side job, as you like to say, Ryan. And I have no involvement with Adam in personnel decisions and evaluation of players. So anything that when I do get back to being allowed to talk about these prospects is that it's purely, I think they do that on some of the infomercials. This is just purely on my own and my own reflection. It has nothing to do with the Washington Commanders. It has nothing to do with Adam Peters or the direction they're going to go in the draft. And I've been working the last 2 weeks between the side job, evaluating all the Senior Bowl talent that will be down there in a couple of weeks. Now that the list is
For the
coming in.
podcast.
For the podcast, yes, not for the Washington Commanders. They do not get any of my reports. I do not want to know, and I have no in care of what direction they're going to go. But I do know this: as I went through this process with Bob Myers, who's a very impressive individual, the GM from the Golden State Warriors, and working with Josh Harris, who I know is the right leader of this franchise, the right ownership group that is supporting him with Urban Magic Johnson and with all the other partners. It is very refreshing to see how passionate they are about bringing a winning football team back to this organization. And when I went through the GM searches and was a part of those interviews and how we set up the interviews, how diligent the process was, how detailed it was, I was excited because interviewing all the 5 candidates that we had that came through were more than qualified. And I believe all of them are going to be a GM here in the near future. But I learned a lot of stuff too. I learned how different teams operate, how different teams run their draft process, analytics, sports science. So to me, as much as I was trying to interview them, I actually was really fascinated by the way the NFL has changed even 5, 6 years ago, even 2 years when I was let go by the Minnesota Vikings on how things are advancing in analytics, how things are advancing in sports science. So it's been an incredible experience for me and an incredible learning experience because talking to all of these top flight talent evaluators, you get a very good insight on how each of these teams operate, and you can see why they have been so successful.
Did you, as rumor had it, wear your with the first pick shirt during the interview process?
I would have, but we only got one for the year, and unfortunately, it's
being laundered.
I spilled coffee on it, so right now I've been trying diligently to try to get that coffee stain out of the one with the first pick podcast T-shirt that we had. So, but I did said just go to your favorite YouTube channel or whatever the heck you say at the end of these shows and download the app with the first pick. So
close enough.
That's why I don't do the promotions for this show.
Debo, have you missed Rick at all?
A little bit. I mean,
Debo, you got to admit, I grow on you, right? And then when all of a sudden I'm not around, then it's like, that guy kind of grew on me a little bit.
We missed you for a mock draft last week.
Oh,
I don't know if word got to you, but our good pal Emery Hunt joined and had a very interesting quarterback 3.
Oh,
I'll do the this is Emery's symbol for Mr. Rattler.
He was come on, don't even tell me that.
We can't talk about it. We can't talk about it.
We'll talk about it. Yeah.
We'll talk about it. But just to reiterate, Rick has no involvement with anything other than the search process. And once he's concluded, once the Commanders get their coach, Rick will be back full time.
Ryan, do you think he calls Mr. Johnson? Do you think he calls him Irvin or Magic?
He probably the first time called him the wrong nickname. Probably called him like Dr. J or something. Yeah.
Oh, Dr. J. I remember watching you growing up.
Oh, that's pretty crazy.
Very impressive. I was like floored just getting an opportunity. And it was over Zoom, but just speaking with him and very impressive. And you can see why he's been so successful. And it was funny because we were going through and Bob Myers are bringing the NBA twist, which was also very interesting on how the NBA processes things and the different worlds that the NFL and the NBA are. But that's another thing. And any of these young scouts or assistant GMs, anytime you get an opportunity to visit with anyone, to educate yourself, even if it's in another sport, it's incredible the knowledge and some of the ideas that may be applicable across sports can apply to even help you. And it's like I said, I've been in the business over 30 some years, as you used to say on the show before I just became an old shoe on the show.
An old shoe.
But it's I can't tell you, you never stop educating and you never stop learning. And that was a thing that really had my juices flowing over these past couple of days, is how much I learned from all these people that I've been associating with over the last couple of weeks.
So you think Washington Commanders fans have reasons for optimism is what I'm hearing?
I would be very optimistic from the ownership group, from Adam Peters. And I know that Adam Peters is going to take the lead on a head coaching search. I'll just be there to assist and give my opinions on as we go through this coaching search. But, there's no question that Adam is the right man for the job, and that Josh and Adam will make the right decision on who the next head coach will be.
It was pretty funny when the news came out last Monday, and people assumed, and Debo sort of noted this earlier before we started the podcast, that you were just taking a full-time job with the Commanders. And
no,
I was like, yeah,
not.
Because you threw me and Debo a curveball. You said you're not taking the Chargers job, but you moonwalk right into the Commander's job. But you didn't.
Not a job, a consulting gig, or a side job, as we like to say. But I'm very happy with my job as just a scout in the corner.
Just a scout in the corner. All right, so that's the update on Mr. Spielman. And as soon as the Commanders officially hire a coach, he will be back with us full time, hopefully sooner rather than later. So we'll navigate those waters in the meantime. But glad to see Mr. Rick back on the show.